Hello, this is Eric Gerace with eXp Realty. And today I wanted to take a couple minutes and talk to you about time management. I know a lot of people in this industry struggle with that work-life balance. I was one of them for years. And a few years ago, I put into practice a time management policy that has been life-changing for me. And I was inspired by one of my coaches at Success Coaching to make this video and share my journey with time management and the tools that I use now that have created the work-life balance that is not only what my goals were, but has been absolutely life-changing in the process. And first, before I begin, just a little plug for Success Coaching. They are an amazing group of coaches. They can help you with any challenges you're facing in your business, or if your business is running smoothly and you just are looking how to level up, or maybe you're in a mentor situation and looking to inspire and motivate your team. They are a fantastic resource, and you can reach them at coaching.success.com. Okay, now back to my journey. So I started off in the corporate world, and I was young. It was in the late 80s, early 90s, so before all this technology, and I had an organizer and a calendar, and I would fill it all up with everything work related. And I wanted to, and the reason I was doing that was to get promoted, to fast track my life, to reach my goals. But I realized really quickly that it was not the way to do it, because my whole calendar was work. And if friends or people invited me on a road trip or wanted to go on a vacation, I would check my calendar and be like, oh, I couldn't. So there was so many times in my life that I turned down that I said no to family. I said no to friends. The people that are most important in my life, I was telling them no all the time because work took precedence. And then after I left the corporate world, after a few years, I went into self-employment. I started my own business. And at that time I said, I'm not going to be a slave to my calendar anymore. I'm going to, no more organizer, no more calendar. I'm just going to keep it all in my head and do it that way. Well, and there was a saying in the corporate world was, I have a lot on my plate right now. So my goal was, I don't even have a plate. If it comes to me, I'm just going to knock it out right then and there. Well, that worked somewhat, but what had ended up happening was I would miss appointments, or I was up all night long thinking and trying to remember the next day's appointments and getting my schedule in order in my head so I wouldn't forget anything. And it created so much stress in my life. I was miserable. And now fast forward a few years into that, I came into touch with this group called Earth Waking University, and we talked about taking the control back. And it was on a personal development level, but it's just struck a chord with me and said, wait a minute, I need to take control of my calendar and my stress. I had insomnia. I wasn't sleeping very well. So I decided to use Google Calendar, and I was going to block out all the time in there. Because through Earth Waking, let me back up a little bit. Through Earth Waking University, I found out about the Eisenhower Matrix. I found out about time blocking, and we were doing this on a personal development level, not really around business. But it just was like, I realized the power inside my business if I did it that way. So I decided I was going to take my control of my calendar back and block out what's important to me. And so I would have days where I would spend time with my wife and kids. There were days that I would spend with just me. And there was time where I would focus on meditations. And so I wanted to make sure that as I stepped into real estate and this crazy scheduled world, right, that everybody talks about, I wanted to make sure I was able to keep those things at a constant level. And so I blocked those off in my calendar first, and then I would schedule anything around that. When I first started into real estate, I was kind of a slave to clients. Whatever the client said, the customer's always right, right? Well, I realized with my calendar and the way it was set up, I kind of needed to explain some things to clients. Like Sundays, I'm not available unless it's an emergency. On evening times, that the times, some of the times that I have blocked off with my kids to put them to bed, to read them stories, to do art with them, whatever that may be, I'm not going to make myself available. So I started training new clients immediately, saying, "Hey, I'm here for you." Uh, Between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. or 8 a.m. and 7 a.m. I can't remember exactly what it was when I first started. I probably gave myself a little bit bigger of a window because I wasn't as practiced at managing my time around real estate transactions at that time. But I gave them certain periods of time that I was available, and they were fine with it. They respected that, they understood it, and I realized really quickly that I was no longer a slave to my calendar. I was not being controlled by my calendar. I was controlling my calendar. And it was completely life changing. And then I realized my calendar was filling up and it was hard to tell what was business and what was personal. And I wanted to be able to easily look at that. So color coding became the thing I used to distinguish between work and family. And one of the nice, awesome things about color coding those two different events is you can, with a quick glance, see where you're spending most of your time, where if you're out of balance on that. And some weeks would be a lot of work. And then some weeks would be a lot of family. But as long as I knew at a quick glance and could tell how I was spending that time, I could adjust it accordingly. And my family appreciates it. My kids, it was amazing with my kids. Once I showed them my calendar and showed them their time and showed them that these are the times that daddy's going to be working, they stopped interrupting me during meetings. They stopped asking for time that I couldn't have and having to say no to them all the time, because that would crush me as a parent to have to tell my kids, no, I have to do this first, because I didn't want them to think that anything was more important than them. But once they understood my calendar and now I leave it up on my desk, they could see when their time's coming up. And it makes it amazing, and it's a bonus to them if something cancels for work and I get to go, hey, I don't have to work, let's go do something. Instead of the opposite where I was constantly telling them no, now I get to give them bonus time. And so it's just one of the things that if you are struggling with time management that you'll need to realize is you're making a behavior change, right? So it's difficult at first to go from the way you're doing things now that may or may not be working very well for you to having control over your calendar. There's a habit you kind of have to build in order to get used to that at first. And so one of the tools I used immediately was I would block out time for as far into the future as possible. And then I made sure I had access to the same calendar on my phone that I did on my computer. And I would put that time out as far as possible. Usually I would try and schedule a month ahead of time. And I would block out all my personal time, and then whatever work related events I knew that were coming up, I would put all those into the calendar. And then each day I would make sure I would check in. I would leave my computer open on that calendar page so I knew what was coming up the next day or that week. And it was just training myself on getting to look at it. Now I check my calendar at night before I go to bed just to kind of get a view of what's coming up for the next day. And I you'll set up repeating events so I know certain things that happen. So it becomes very easy to put this into practice. It took me maybe 2 or 3 weeks of dedicating myself, committing myself to using my calendar in the way that I wanted to build the habit of taking control over my calendar and scheduling that work-life balance. So if there's anybody out there that's been struggling with this, I hope this helps you. If you'd like to reach out to me, and get some more advice, talk to it on a deeper level, I would be more than happy to do that. You can see my phone number on the screen. I receive calls or text message to that number, or you can scan the QR code and that'll take you to my website where you can fill out a contact form or schedule a virtual meeting with me through that as well. Appreciate your time. Good luck to y'all out there. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you very much.